Hello to everyone from around the world joining us for this exclusive Kohler event here at Manchester United's training ground. First, our honoured guest needs no introduction here at Carrington, but nevertheless, Sir Alex Ferguson was manager of Manchester United over a 26-year period between 1986 and 2013, leading the club to 13 Premier League titles, 5 FA Cups and 2 Champions League. He is a managerial success unparalleled in any era of any sport. I'm sure you will all agree. We're also joined by David Kohler, President and CEO of Kohler Company. He represents the 4th generation of family leadership at the company and started at Kohler working in every manufacturing division on the front lines of the organisation as he worked towards his current role as President and CEO. David currently serves on the board of directors of 5 organisations, including the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League. He also served as general chair for both the 2015 PGA Championship and the 43rd Ryder Cup in 2021, contested at the company's famed Whistling Straits golf course. So, here we are, the moment we've all been waiting for. Please welcome Sir Alex Ferguson and David Kohler.
Hi.
Welcome to you
Hello,
both.
everyone.
Yeah.
I think we'll all agree we are so fortunate to have these 2 outstanding leaders with us to share their experiences with us all. David, though, has made me promise that I bias the questions to Sir Alex, given it how fortunate we all are to have time with him in the room today. You two have had a little chat. I noticed there was no chat, very little about the Ryder Cup and golf, though.
Not yet.
We don't want to start that yet.
No, Whistling Straits there wasn't.
We don't want to start a European-American battle too soon.
Yeah.
But it is lovely to have you both here. Sir Alex, I will come straight to you if you don't mind. Firstly, what's it like to be back at Carrington, welcoming guests? It's so nice to have that little bit of normality again.
Well, I retired 9 years ago, so I've only been here a few times. Yeah. When you see it today, it's amazing how things work out. When we're at the cliff for quite a long period, and we just outgrew it, you know. And the secretary at the time, Ken Merritt, and I were all over Manchester looking for a new training ground because it just wasn't big enough with our ideas. And then this guy came along who was an accountant with Shell Oil, who owned this land, you see. And he mentioned to our chief scout, Wes Kershaw, that they were selling a piece of the land. But there were restrictions, big restrictions. For instance, if in the event of war, this was turned into potato fields. It's a fact. There was a moat run right through. We couldn't touch it because the voles lived in it. This is true, and so the restrictions were there, and so we did well. We built the training ground, and it's not what you see today, nothing like it. But it was a fantastic improvement. And then, when we sold Ronaldo, I said to David Gill, the best way this club can progress is having the best medical centre in the world. So I was at him for ages and ages about it. And eventually, he decides to go ahead. And it was open the day I retired. It's fantastic. I realise I have a fantastic medical centre here. I really have. So anyway, I hadn't been here for quite a while then when Louis van Gaal came along, and I see all the improvements. He got rid of the moat. He put floodlights up. He put fences up. He's got a little stand in there with the youth team. Honestly, it was unbelievable. I don't know, I've got this one.
It's a good prop.
So every time I come here now, there is an improvement. It's a fantastic training ground now, yeah.
David, this is your first time back in Manchester for quite some time.
It is, yeah.
How was your journey over?
Oh, it was terrific, and
Good.
it's amazing to be with people again.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
after the pandemic, this is the first time our team has been able to travel to Europe, and it's great to see our customers again, our partners, and be here in Manchester.
It's really, really good to have you, and I hope you go on to enjoy the rest of your time here. David, the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits last September was a fantastic success. How did that feel for you to host one of the most celebrated events in all of golf, and what enabled the event to be so successful amid the circumstances at the time?
You know, I think, first of all, it was a tremendous honor to be able to host the Ryder Cup with all the world's eyes upon you. But yeah, you know, like Manchester United, our company has very high standards, and when we set upon with the privilege to host the event, we decided to try to make it the best event that's ever been played. And you know, these are very lofty goals, but it was incredible how the team rose to the occasion, and it takes a village. It takes a tremendous number of volunteers, the PGA of America and our team. And through the pandemic, there was lower staffing levels, so a lot of our associates had to contribute in various different ways to make the event a success. And we're very proud because a lot of sports writers have deemed it one of the best events ever held for a small market where we are in Wisconsin. But all the credit really goes to my father, Herb Kohler, and Pete Dye, that originally created Whistling Straits and our golf business in Wisconsin and made it a destination. And it's a great story. If you build it, they will come. If you build an incredible venue, people will seek it out and come and want to play.
Wow, fantastic. I know, Sir Alex, you have your own history with the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Specifically in
We
2000.
won then.
Yeah.
I didn't say that the Americans won.
No, I thought the US would win it, at Whistling Straight. I did, the fans. I backed them to win. I thought they'd win.
Yeah.
But in 2014 they didn't.
No. It was fantastic then. I'd been asked to go and speak to the team, you know, and I went to speak to the wives first. Always get the wives in this thing. Always get the wives in this thing. And then I spoke to the caddies.
Yeah.
And there's this caddy called Billy Foster. He used to be the caddy for Seve Ballesteros. And he's a Leeds United fan. So he's sitting there with a face like fizz. And eventually one of the caddies says, "Come on, Billy, get it off your chest. Tell him." He said, "You stole Cantona." I says, "Well, no, we didn't steal him. We paid £1 million for him. That's stealing." He's a real character, Billy Foster. And I think he's with, who is he with now? He's with one of the top players. No, he's not McIlroy. He's with one of the top players. And it doesn't matter.
Golfers, no?
So then I spoke to the players. And I spoke to them, it's an issue I think is very, very important when you're at the top. And it's focusing on the moment, right? Just focusing. And be aware of complacency.
Yeah.
So I spoke about the previous tournament when the US threw it away. On the Saturday night, they were 12-6 up, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I said, you know, think about what the American team are thinking about that night. They're taking their dinner. We only need 3 points, or we only need 4 points. And all you have to do, Great Britain and Europe, was to win the first point. And that complacency swept right through the whole team. Eventually, they capitulated. And I spoke about that, about this, the really important thing in sport. And I was at the final of the American women's final in Rushing Meadows, is it? Yeah, Flushing Meadows, sorry.
Flushing.
And it was Williams against the Czechoslovakian girl, Azarenko, right? And she beats her serve, beats Williams' serve to go 5-3 up, and it's her serve. And she turns to her box, she goes, "Wow, yes. Oh, dangerous." Only Williams, what she can do, win the next set, and the next set, and the next. And she just, wow. So it's a really important thing about complacency in business.
Yeah, same thing.
You relax, the dangerous thing you do. When you're doing well, keep doing well.
And you did for 26 years at this fantastic club. How did you manage the club in times of change? For example, when you did move the team from the Cliff to Carrington, we heard Quinton Fortune telling us all earlier about how that was such a big adjustment. They were all in a small changing room in the Cliff, and then you come here, you've got lots of space. But in general, what was it like to manage change?
Yeah, well, the size of the place was quite, you know, suffocating, if you know what I mean. It was, you're walking about empty, at the time there was all these empty rooms that I was examining and all the rest of it. And the architect then says that we're going to build 2 dining rooms, one for the staff and one for the players. I said, no, you're not. You're buying 1 dining room. Everybody eats together at this club. And they had to go and change the whole plans. They had to knock down walls and,
That's good.
but it was the right thing to do, absolutely. Players should eat with the staff, the groundsmen, the kitchen staff, the administration, they all should eat together for a right club, you know. So that was quite you know, the start of that, getting it all sorted was terrific. And as you say it, as I was saying, you wouldn't recognise it for way back then. It is now, that's 2000, it's now 2022. But I think that change, I don't think I changed myself, I must say. I don't think you should change yourself. There's no reason to change yourself if you're doing the right things. I always was consistent with who I am. But to change the dynamics of your club is important. In 2002, I think it was, our doctor came to see me and he says, look, I think we should have sports science come into the club. No, I'm not into gimmicks, David, I'm not into gimmicks whatsoever. So I says, well, look, you give me a paper that convinces me that sports science is the right way ahead. I knew he was right. I just didn't want to give in to him.
Yeah, that's good.
You know? So he gave me the paper, big document, and I studied it for, maybe 2 weeks. And he was right. So we employed this lad called Tony Strudwick from Blackburn Rovers. He was fantastic, honestly. And I knew then, I says, we're going forwards. And I got these young, energetic, good ideas kids, you know, 24, 20, you just come out of university, you get 3 or 4 of them. And they've all moved on. I think they're all in America now, actually.
Yeah.
You're all moved up over there to different aspects of sport. But they were fantastic. And it got, you know, what was impressed me about them, if I was going to be leaving around about 5 o'clock back and they were still there. And I said, get your backside to get home, get a rest. He said, no, we just have to finish this. And I like that. I like that energy and determination to do really well. So change for the right reasons is really important. Mm-hmm. And that's what you should do when you're a big company like yourselves. Just maybe a detail, just a little bit, 1% is all you need to think about, you know. And that was as an example of what that happened to me at the club.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing that. You're known for building very successful Manchester United teams. Of course, 1992, the class of 92 is the one everyone talks about. What was their secret, though, and your secret in building them and their strengths as a team?
When I became into management, I went to a club and no money, put it that way. So the best route is to try and produce your own players, and at Simon, we did that. We did very well. I trialled and coached and scouted all young players at that various time, and eventually 7 became full internationals. I moved on to Aberdeen. I carried on the same principle with young people because I was enjoying that. I was enjoying seeing young people given an opportunity. And in terms of determination and attitude, it's the right thing to do. Now, the thing about the boys at United, it was different because there's something different. You know, that, I don't know what we call it, it's maybe, I think they all came out with one egg. You know what I mean? They all had the same drive and they loved each other, they palled about with each other, And it was fantastic to watch it. And my problem was, how am I going to get them in the first team? You know, they won the Youth Cup, and we had that situation. I said to Brian Robson, my captain at the time, fantastic captain, I said, you know, I think the youth team could beat the first team. I said that to him. I
Wow.
says, that'll be language obliterated. But so what we did, we were playing at Littleton Road, one of our training grounds, and it was a really horrible day. It was a Manchester day, we were talking about it, and the sweet's coming down. So the first team are out with their tracksuits on, right? They're doing their normal bit of warming up and that. And I says to Eric Harrison, the youth coach, a fantastic youth coach, I says, Eric, get the first team strips out. Get them strips, their pants, the socks, and they're going to play the first team. He says, it's freezing out there. I says, listen, they don't know they're different classes, boys. So they run out with the ball, and the captain taking the ball out. There's a team running out on the pitch. The first team going, can get into these. And it was a fantastic game. They beat us. The first team won, obviously, but it was an example of it, what they had, you know, something that young people have, and they've got a drive. And it's not just in football. Some people are born with this drive inside them, and it takes them everywhere, you know. And they wanted to be players, you know. People talk about the great players we had at this club, in my time anyway. Brian Robson, unbelievable. Ronaldo, Cantona, Scholes, Giggs, blah, 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 right through. But honestly, those young players created the spirit of Manchester United in my time. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They were a breath of fresh air. They really were. And eventually, I made a decision to let, well, two players go anyway. One was leaving anyway, Mark Hughes. His contract was up. He wanted to go to Chelsea. That's fine. Wasn't a problem. He gave me good service. And two I sold. You know, we got about 14 million for him, and we brought all the young players in, and we lost the first game 3-1. And Alan Hansen, the television that night, said, "You can't win anything with kids.
Wow.
Win the double. Win the cup in the league that year."
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
That's great.
But
That's a great story.
They were a special bunch, and even as human beings, there's a thing about your development as a person. Your mother and father, I can speak of my own parents in particular, that they want you to be a good human being. And Eddie Harrison, no matter how hard he was with them, and he was difficult, he was a difficult coach, he worked his socks off them, he turned them into good human beings. That was the best job he did, because now, doesn't matter when you meet them, the same respect, they're good human beings, they've done well for themselves off the pitch, and it's refreshing to see that eventually, even after football, they can be as good as that, you know.
Yeah.
You've just mentioned a few players there, and you've had some very different personalities and unique personalities in your teams. I think Patrice Evra has told a story of a team talk you gave before a European Cup final, and you'd went round all the players in the team talking about their backgrounds and their families. So in light of that, how does embracing individuality lead to ultimate success as a team?
Speaking of upbringing, I think upbringing is where you get your foundation. My mother and father, don't lie, don't steal, don't be late. My dad was honestly, don't be late. You know, last thing you know, don't be late. Anyway, they get a foundation about certain important things. That was important. The teacher you have at school, this teacher, Elizabeth Thompson, she was incredible. She's from the other side of the tracks, David. She was. She's from a well brought up family, but she was a Rottweiler. She was a, you know, governed as a working class areas, shipyards, and you know, there's a lot of poverty there too. And she went around all the doors. If that kid wasn't the class, and then she went up to the door, bang the door. If I'm not in, there'll be trouble. She was fantastic. She was an influence to me that way, you know, that determination. So, in terms of people's character, what I try to do a lot of the times, and I think Patrice is referring to their families. I think that young people today, and there's young people here probably, but I want them to forget that somewhere along the line, their grandfathers or their fathers were working class. Some of them were maybe worked in the pits, down the mines. Somebody worked in shipyards. I always try to get that feeling of the players were working not for them, but for their grandparents. To get instill in them a working class mentality. They had to really work hard to convince and to satisfy their own needs of what their parents had done for them. You know, I did that a lot, and I would manufacture stories about working class people, you know, and lie in bed at night time. Because when you're managing a club for 26 years, the danger is going stale. Yeah. That the same story comes out all the time. So I had stories about birds and.
Yeah, that's the famous geese one that you gave at the Ryder Cup. Was that correct?
Yeah, the geese. A friend of mine's got his cousin's got a farm in Canada, and he told me a story. And I said, "Is that right?" He says about the geese leaving Canada to go and get some sun. So I used that in one of my speeches with the players. I says, we won the league, and it was the first game of the new season. I says, these birds, geese, flying 2Vs, the ones at the back don't fly. They get a breather, and then they change over, and if one falls ill, two have to fall and look after it. And they're sitting there, and they thought it was off their head. They definitely thought it was gone. And says, all I'm asking you, these birds are flying 4,000 miles to get a bit of sun. All I'm asking you is to win the league in the 38 matches. So that was my motivation for the year. But you know, motivation is it's not an easy thing. It's definitely not an easy thing. You know, if you think about that movie, The Wolf, was it the Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street.
I mean, the motivation he had, and you see, and they would jump out the window for him. You know? Yeah, that kind of motivation is maybe too far, but motivation is a very important thing. But you've got to be careful about it.
But how much of the motivation do you think was intrinsic in the players versus the manager?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, that. Well, you see, the manager, if you become a manager and you're doing your company, you sacrifice. You don't know if they're prepared to sacrifice as much as you. Mm-hmm. They didn't. Absolutely no doubt about it, because they weren't going to watch reserve games over in Hull and things like that. What me and my sister would do, go and watch games everywhere. You know, on the videos every afternoon, you know. That's a different kind of sacrifice. All you're required to get out of them is performance, you know. So the motivation is coming from me to them. I don't need motivation. I definitely didn't need it. I know that. My great motivation was sitting in that window at the far corner there every morning, looking out in the grass, and I said, I'm lucky. And I would watch all the players come in their cars, and it's how they're walking in. Do you think they've been out in it? There's one or two I knew were. But you know, I love that. I love that walking out my window.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
One thing you've mentioned in the past when I've spoken to you, though, you say you sat and looked out your window. You have spoken about loneliness as a leader sometimes.
100%, yeah.
People always thought you were busy.
Yeah. It happens that you're in your office and you're on your own, and I think it's good to be lonely, actually. You know, you can maybe get a bit of thinking done, you know, and you get maybe time to read a paper even. But the thing is, I've felt that I'm saying, why is nobody coming to my office? Why is nobody knocking on my door? You know, I had that spell and said, and you feel that loneliness, and I used to then go around the offices and annoy people. You know? You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
I do that too. Yeah, it's very effective.
Yeah, absolutely. You walk in and they go, a kid that way, you know, for Christ's sake, he's here again. Where's the tea? Come on, get some tea out. But I then look for somebody to sort of connect with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think they all realise that, you know.
Now that I've said that, David, I'm sorry, your office is going to be really full from now on, all these people. Are you lonely, David?
I'll go chase after them.
Yeah.
You'll not
Yeah.
get rid of them. I do have a few quick-fire fan questions for you. Yep. Fans have been submitting questions, and these are the winning ones. The first one is to you, Sir Alex. It's from David Hartono, and he's in Indonesia. If you could turn back to 1986, the first day of being Manchester United manager, what would you say to yourself?
Well, I knew what my ideas were. I don't think it would change. I told the directors that I was going to build a club, not a football team. That was I was good at, and I then told them that we'd be working hard with the youth site set up so that they get them into it. At that time, Man City were ahead of us in youth, but that changed, you know. But as I say, that for a club like Manchester United, given their history, going back to 58 with Sir Matt Busby, that was without question the correct thing to do, was to rebuild the youth department. Got in a fantastic man. He was actually a lecturer at university in physics. Wes Kershaw, energy, communicator, loved parents, spoke to parents all the time. He was absolutely brilliant. The only problem with Wes is you couldn't stop talking. He phoned me a Sunday, David, honestly, he phoned me on a Sunday about 3 o'clock, and he'd been on that phone for about an hour and a half. And the minute you tried to interrupt, it accelerated. And Kathy would come in and says, "Still on the phone?" It's Wes. It was fantastic, it really was. And he had the energy to get about the scouting and with the parents. It was really good.
That's great.
Thank you very much. We've got another question here from Mike in Canada. David, this one is to you. Just like in football, in big business, there are various people who have different views on what success looks like and the best way of getting there. As a captain of industry, what are some ways in which you've been able to get alignment in your team to pull towards a common goal?
Well, a chunk of my team is here, so they can opine on this. But, you know, just like football, it starts with great people. And you have to surround yourself and build an organization of great people and spend a lot of time selecting and developing great people. And then I think it's about leading with authenticity, with integrity, with character. I mean, people have to see that kind of strength of purpose and what you stand for by example. And then it's about aligning together on the principles, the standards that the club or the organization is going to stand for and live by. And I think we've done that very well as an organization over 148 years as a company. Mm-hmm. And although we're very proud of our tradition, we have a lot of ambition to continue to pioneer and build the company.
Mm-hmm. We are nearing the end, guys, but I just have one quick question to you both. You're both tremendous leaders who inspire so many people. If you can just both give us a name of someone who has inspired you.
It's hard to give one name. I'll
know,
let you go first.
I'm the same. I've got quite a few, yeah. I mean, on the football sense, the manager I worked for Scotland who died at a game, Jock Stein, he was fantastic. Inspirations in terms of intelligence. It was small things that you picked up on. He would never sit in a restaurant unless he could see everybody. Yeah. So he positioned his chair so he could see everybody in the restaurant. You know, I started doing that. You know, yeah. But he was a great inspiration. But on the earliest thing I was telling you about my school teacher, Elizabeth Thompson, she was she was a fantastic inspiration to me, you know. But and a lot of people throughout your life who, you know, play a part in inspiring you, and you know, make sure you're, you know, you're doing the right things, or praising you for the right things, and not try to sweeten you, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
What about
I would
yourself?
say my mother was a very important influence, and my father. I mean, nobody's taught me more about business than my father over the years. And then there's great people I work with, you know, colleagues, peers, people lower in the organization that I worked with on the front lines early on. And to this day, you know, people all over the organization I learn from and get inspired. And then you have to continue to keep learning. I mean, leaders are readers. They're looking outside with a curious mind. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about other great leaders like Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett. I'm a big fan of him. And then great leaders like Sir Alex.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I'm sure everyone in the room will agree that it's a real honour to spend time in both of your company. Just a round of applause for the two gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at Carrington for this exclusive Kohler event with Manchester United. We really hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you at Old Trafford soon.